Hi, I'm Jim Putman, and I want to say hi to all of our real life ministry family out there. And we're doing this video today for the Lakeland School District. I get to sit here with Lisa Arnold and Lynn Pasley, a superintendent, assistant superintendent, friends for years. And I get the privilege of talking about the levy that's coming up. And we know that a ton of our people are moving into the area, and so they don't quite know how Idaho works versus where they came from. And it's definitely a different system. And what I always want to tell people is when you move in to our area, I know many people have they're political refugees from other places. They always use that terminology. And they're leaving somewhere else because of how rough it is. And there aren't this side of heaven, there's no perfect place. Idaho's pretty good though. And what I want you to do is come in curious to our area rather than loaded for bear because of where you came or because you're watching the national news. This isn't the national news. Again, we're not perfect here, but this is a different place. And we are a conservative place, and that's the reflection of our values in our area. And so I want to help these folks understand how it works here. And then the levy's coming up, and
May 20th.
May 20th. And Lisa, why don't you share with us a little bit about how it works here in Idaho when it comes to funding the school district?
Okay. Before I leap into that big pool, I do want to kind of piggyback on what you were just saying about our conservative area. This is a strong Christian area with very strong Christian values, and we are different. And I don't know if our community members know this, but Lakeland School District, when teachers come back in August, that week before kids come back, we bring the entire staff together and we start with an invocation. And we do that. We have done that every year since I've been here, and this is year 34 for me. So it's definitely a part of who we are. We are here because we have the same values as the people we're serving. And so I think that's an important piece of what makes this area special. Is we can partner with churches and
I came
take
from
care
Oregon.
of our kids together.
This partnership where we work together and we talk to each other, and that wasn't where I came from in Oregon. It was a shocker to me that you would even let us come down there, talk with you, ask us questions. You guys want to know what we think instead of wanting us to keep out of what you guys are doing. It was definitely different for me personally when I came here 25 years ago, and it's just grown since then.
Yeah. And I think that's why people come to our area. I think when they start doing the research and they see how we work with parents, and when I say we, I'm not just talking now about Lakeland School District, but in this whole area we've got great schools, and I feel like our schools do a really good job of partnering with parents. We're working with other people's children every day. They're not ours, and so that partnership is so important, and I think that's what causes people to come. They see that we are different. They maybe don't know exactly how we're different, but there's a sense. And when you look at how our schools perform compared to the rest of the schools in the state, North Idaho is doing a great job. And so it is a great place for families.
And I think there's a lot of great things that we do, but I think the number one thing is we have amazing teachers. We have amazing paraprofessionals, we have amazing classified staff, but at the end of the day, they love kids. They love all kids. And you raised your girls through Lakeland School District. All three of my boys have come through Lakeland, and completely different kids. They all, had their own thing, but our teachers and our staff invest in children every single day, and ultimately want to just come alongside parents and do right by kids. Like, that's our mantra is this best for kids? And that's the qualifier that we make decisions on about. This is a kid at the end of the day, and what would we want as a parent? What would we want somebody helping us or doing for us? So the goal is just about, we're focused on students and kids and doing what's right for them and doing what the parents want and what's best for kids as a whole. So
we're very intentional about the materials we put in front of kids. And we've
You guys actually have a group of parents that vet
everything
that goes through. So you bring the parents in to go, hey, should we even have this book in the school?
Well, we have an opt-in for all of our novels. So even though we have a vetting process that has to be approved, even then our second layer is as a parent, if you decide that I'm not comfortable with this novel, even down to the library. So if you as a parent say, I'm not comfortable with these types of genres, I just don't want my kids, reading this level, whatever, we have a parent opt-in for them. And so if a student, a 5th grader, a 9th grader, a 2nd grader goes into the library and they want to check out a book, the parents get to approve what genres their kids checking out from. So if you don't like dystopia, or if you don't want a book with violence, whatever, you get to choose as a parent. So we have a vetting process, but we also have layers where there's lots of parent input, and you get to dictate what you want and what you're comfortable with for your own child. So we tried to, again, at the end of the day, we're a public school, but our lens is how do we give parents, right? So in that 7-hour window, they still get to have autonomy with their student as far as what their child's being exposed to.
Yeah. We recognize that in Idaho, probably more so than any other state on the western half of the United States. I don't pay attention to what's going on all over the place. I'm so focused on what we're doing. But I do feel like in Idaho, we have some of the strongest parent right laws on the books. This is definitely a place where parents have choices, lots of choices in how kids are educated. And for the two of us, we're proud of what we do in Lakeland. And so we just always want Lakeland to be at the top of the list of choices for parents. And ultimately, parents have to make choices. And sometimes we have families where public school works for one of their kiddos, but it doesn't work well for another one of their kiddos, and they do something different.
My kids, I had 3 kids, each of them were different. One of my kids was really a follower when he was young. So I was like, I can't put him around certain kids. I have to really be protective. One of my kids wasn't matter where he went to school, he wasn't going to sit still. He was kind of ADHD up the charts. One of my kids was really strong. So one of them graduated from Lakeland, one of them graduated from a private school, one of them homeschooled. We're for all those venues, and I know you guys are as well. I mean, one of the cool things about Lakeland is you guys have dual enrollment. You got kids that go to your school and then also are able to get another degree. My daughter-in-law got a degree in nursing at NIC. You have kids who are homeschooling but play on the sports programs and the extracurricular activities.
They participate in some of our co-curricular, so we have kids that are homeschooled, but then we'll access some of our clubs and our programs and band and BPA. Some of those. At the end of the day,
we're for kids, and we're for if they're being educated and loved and protected and guided. We're for all 3 of those things.
We're for a very our kind of, again, our mantra and our qualifier is we're for a really strong community. So whether you are 100% a Lakeland kid, you're a part of this community, and the stronger our community is, we all reap the benefits of a strong community. So we're about doing what's right for all kids, regardless of if you're homeschooled, if you're, you go to charter, if you go to public, if you're in private. I mean, we want parents. And I would say the other piece to this is, yes, Idaho is very strong parental rights, but even prior to Idaho passing a lot of those bills, our district was already
you were on the front edge
moving.
of that. We talked about that years
We
ago.
front loaded a lot of those and, had to tweak it once the law came. But a lot of those were already in place. A lot of our policies and our procedures were already in place long before the state passed a bill or a legislative.
Yeah.
I want to, these folks, I don't think they necessarily understand how all the details work. And a lot of times they'll listen to things that are said at even the state level. $2 billion is given to that to raise salaries in this, and half the time it gets there and half the time it doesn't, and it doesn't apply to every school district the same way. And then a lot of times they'll get money over here. At the other side, they're taking away money over here that they used to get. So at the end of the day, what are you really getting and what are you not getting? But what's important is that the levy system, it actually, there's pros and cons to it. The con is neither of you wanted to be in a world where you had to do a levy every 2 years. You wanted to work with kids.
Yes.
And you're not politicians, and you're like, I have to ask for money every 2 years for our community. Nobody wants that. I'm sorry you guys have to do that. But on the other side of it, the good side of it is the reason they set it up is so that the communities would have some buy-in. If they weren't okay with the direction, they could impact the direction through a levy system. And they call them supplemental levies, but they're not supplemental.
It's fundamental.
They're fundamental. So there's things like safety, school safety, and all of us are caring about that right now. I mean, for our churches, we've had things happen, our communities, our schools, we're all, and so that's involved in that. Some people think sports and extracurricular activities are supplemental. I am who I am because of sports, and I never would have graduated had I not had to have grades to play sports.
Well, in a lot of states, sports are paid for through this, they
Pay to play.
or
government.
the government, the state level, and here in Idaho we get $0,
Right.
not just for our extracurricular activities, for all of those the programs that we just talked about, BPA, FFA, FCCLA.
Give me some of those acronyms.
Business Professionals of America, Future Farmers of America. I never can remember the full acronym for it's family. It's the old Family Consumer Science, but it's leadership now, the FCCLA. So, drama, music, band, all of those.
All the things that teach you how to be a teammate,
Right.
right, or how to lead.
We don't get any dollars for those. We don't get money for our coaches. We don't get money for our officials. We don't get money for uniforms. So for traveling, and what's unique to North Idaho versus some of the southern schools
We're in
is
the backwoods.
we're in the backwoods, so our kids have to be transported. We don't have facilities in this area for us to be able to house state level tournaments, and so everything has to be in Boise. So where a Boise school district or a surrounding area might have to travel a few hours, we're talking 9 hours, 8 hours. So it's a bus, it's overnight hotels, and so again, all of that falls on the district and or parents, and not every single parent can afford a pay-to-play model. So we set aside money for that, but that's 100% of the levy funds all of those things that enriches every single one of our students. And in both of our high schools, I don't know what the exact number is, but I think we're close to 70% of our student populations, it might be even higher than that, access our extracurricular, our co-curricular, all those additional programs that are outside of just the reading and math and
History.
Science and social studies. They access all of those additional platforms that we have. So our kids are super invested in their community and their schools and what they're doing.
So the levy covers what percentage?
We were at 22% when we ran it for the 9.52, and I believe by cutting people, unfortunately, and cutting $2 million to get us down to 7.52, so we felt like we could rerun it. I think we're at 18% of our overall budget now.
Okay, so the way it works is in our state, the federal government or the state government gives this much. You guys have to pass a levy for this much. If it doesn't come in, then you have to eliminate teachers, larger classroom sizes,
Yes.
less teachers,
Yep.
less activities, less safety, less buses. There's a ton of stuff that goes into that. And so you guys run this levy to pay the gap that's left over. And when it comes to this levy, we were talking about how it goes to your property taxes and how much you pay over there. It was like $4,600 last year. Was it $2,600 went towards education out of all the property taxes? $2,600 for the year in Spokane Valley. If the levy passes here, it's like $182 for a year. We're so much different in the way we run things. It's so much more expensive in those places, and for us it's less, but I think we get a better product, in my opinion, over here. And so when we're talking about this levy, this really makes a difference in our area. Now, one of the things I hear is, first, remember this, I think it was in Lakeland, 17% of parents whose kids go to the school district actually voted. 70%.
Prior to this last election,
Okay.
because we had 20,000 people vote in November.
Okay, so And the sad part of it is it failed. Normally, it's a small percentage of people that are voting for the whole county. And usually those are people that are, a lot of times, very upset about whatever. And the people that are okay with it, they're like, oh, somebody else will vote. You know, I hear that all the time in Idaho.
It's going to pass. I've
Yeah.
got things I need to do.
Yeah, and they don't understand that we're letting a very small number of people impact our families. And people will ask me, okay, Jim, you don't have any kids in Lakeland School District now. You don't have any grandkids in Lakeland School District yet. They're too young. Why would you vote yes for this? Well, because what is the consequences in our community of not having these kids supervised, led, protected from themselves and others, busy? What do they do if that isn't the case? They have more time to be on the internet. We all know that's great.
Right.
More time without supervision. Because in our area, a lot of the families have to work because you can't afford to even live here.
Right.
Unless both parents are,
Right.
are
But
there.
this is putting them in a constructive activity that is supervised. There's multiple adults.
One kid, right? Think about this. One, and you guys know this, one kid that doesn't get what he could have got because we don't want to pay for it can wreck a family, a community's life. You are impacted by what happens to the kids in your community, even if you don't have any kids in that program. So none of my kids are in it. I'm in Lakeland. I'm voting yes for the vote. First of all, I think it's a responsibility of every American not to gripe, but to do what they can and what they've been given the right to do. And so I don't really think people have, in my view, they don't have the right to whine when they won't step up and do anything about it, to be proactive and positive. It's easy to criticize. What can we do to get involved and help? And so I'm voting yes because that's what I think of being a good community member is, for the sake of all of our kids and families.
Well, these are all going to be future leaders, and they will have an impact on our country. And if we have a larger section that is uneducated because they're not going to school, because there's nothing to keep them there, they're not excited to go to school because there's nothing fun. It's just going and learning. I think learning is a lot of fun, but
About some things and
right,
other
but
things like,
but kids love like football.
Yeah.
Even though I'm a girl and I didn't play football, but you get excited about the games. There's homecoming week with all the spirit stuff. I mean, there's this energy that comes from participating in
She's
those
a little
different
upset
activities.
I beat her in our fantasy league.
Yes, I am a little upset about that. But
I love football.
But when kids drop out of school, that's when we start to see a decline in communities. And so one of the things we've been talking about is our graduation rate. So Idaho measures high schools based on a 4-year graduation cohort. And so they look at, for this school year, what percentage of the kids who were freshmen in the 2021-22 school year are graduating this year. And, that's a 4-year span. So families move, especially nowadays because everything here is so expensive. People have a hard time finding a place they can rent, that they can afford. And when they leave us, if they can't tell us where they're going and we can't document where they're going, those kids count as dropouts for us, even though they may have moved to Arizona and graduated from Tucson High School. Because we can't produce the documentation to show where they went,
Which
they
impacts
count
how much money
against
you
us.
get from the government. Based
No,
on
that doesn't have that. It's just how they measure. It's just one of our metrics. But it is confusing to our community because they look at those numbers and say, well, we're not doing a very good job because 100% of our kids aren't actually graduating. This year, Timberlake High School had the highest 4-year cohort graduation rate I've ever seen at 98.2%. And Lakeland high school was at 94.4. They're always going to be less than Timberlake because our life skills program is there. And
legally, we are
those
required.
kiddos get to go to school until they're 21. So because they don't graduate when they're 18, they count against us.
Because they're not supposed to be on a 4-year cohort.
But that's
It's
how the
supposed to be
state does it.
longer.
So they're taking advantage of the learning opportunities we're providing, and we're happy for them and happy that we
It's
provide
appropriate.
that. It's weird the way the state calculates that. Our alternative high school had a 90.1% graduation rate, 4-year graduation rate. The state average is 44%. So our 4-year cohort rate is awesome. But if you look at just last year's seniors, the kids who started school with us in the fall of, last year was 23, 24. So September of 23, what percentage of those kids walked across our stage? 100% at all 3 of our high schools. That to me is the report card for the school district, if you will.
That's our grade.
That's our grade. That's a strong K-12 school district system where kids come in as kindergartners, and our wonderful kindergarten teachers, they herd cats for the first 2 months of school, trying to teach kids how to be in school, how to share with each other, how to play together, get invited to play, all of that social stuff. And then we graduated 100% of our seniors because they go into high school ready to learn at a high level and have that rigor.
You guys, the job of a teacher now is so different. The amount of parents that helped with homework in the day, the amount, nowadays it's like, okay, everybody's going like crazy. They got to have multiple jobs to be able to afford to live there. The lack of discipline. You guys are like social workers, counselors, educators. What a difficult job teachers have today as our culture.
I would say our administrators, our counselors, again, going back to what I said at the very beginning, our people would do it time and time again because they know that they're investing in kids and they love what they do, and they're
it's a calling. It's not just a job.
One of the things I appreciate about you guys is most people don't know this. You guys participated with us in a partnership to create what was called the Irreplaceable health classes video series, docu-series at Lakeland High School, because the suicide rate in North Idaho is percentage-wise is not good. And nationally, we're seeing this all over. And you guys partnered with us to create a sort of curriculum for health classes, peer-led for kids dealing with mental health crisis. You invited a church, of course, we understand the rules of all that, to work together with you to create something that's not just helping schools, but churches around the United States now. And you guys didn't have to, I would have never thought that was going to happen where I was before, but wow, I was blown away by you guys' willingness to do that. I want to say a couple things. I live in the Lakeland School District. I have 2 sisters that teach in the area, one of them in Lakeland. And one of the things that I want to say about both of you and about the school district, it's easy for us to believe that we can't trust everyone in government. We certainly can't trust some. We know that people can skew stats to mean whatever. They can say it to get the money, then not do it. There's a lot of things they could do. So in America right now, there's just a lot of skepticism, right? But I've gotten to see you guys do stuff. I don't know, 3/4 of the principals go to our church. The teachers, we have some of the most amazing teachers. My family members see what you guys do day in, day out, that you really are doing this. And you guys are facing unprecedented issues with the culture and everything else, and options that didn't used to be options, and things that you never saw coming because you would have never thought that. It's crazy what's going on, and you guys are I believe you, and I don't just believe, I trust but verify. And I can in full confidence say that I believe this is the right thing to do, and these are the right people. And I would say this: some people I know you might be going, if you're part of our church, or you're not. You're like, why is real life getting involved in politics? And I want to say this: I don't see that as this is politics. I see working with our kids as a moral issue that's been politicized. There are a lot of moral issues that have been politicized. Because they're moral issues, there's a right and a wrong. And I believe the right thing is to do our very best to partner together to work for kids. And to spend the money where we're supposed to, and with accountability and all those things. But I also know that if you're looking for a perfect place until you get to heaven, you're going to be disappointed. Because wherever we go, there we are, and we're part of the problem. So I just want to encourage you to get out and vote. I think you should. I'd actually have more respect for somebody who got out and voted no than somebody who didn't vote at all, because at least you took the initiative to get out and speak into this with your actions. But I'm hoping that those of us who agree that this is the right thing to do, because I really do believe there'd be more, if all of you took the time to do that who do agree, this will pass. And then, unfortunately, guess what? Because of the system, in 2 more years, guess what you have to do again?
Do it again.
Is to go through an election cycle. And I'm sorry that you have to do that, but thank you guys for stepping into this and fighting and doing the hard things. And either both of you, I know your stories well and know you well, and you could have said, I'm done. And yet, you're still here swinging away. Proud to know you. Thankful we get to do this with you. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any last things you want to say before we close this out?
I do have a few little pieces of information that I
Okay.
think voters need to know.
Okay.
So it is important to know that the board did reduce the amount that we're asking. So we're asking for $7.52 million. On the ballot language, we aren't allowed to put any language on there about the property tax relief that the state put in place, because the amount fluctuates a little bit year over year, because it's based on average daily attendance from the previous year. But we are anticipating about $2 million in property tax relief for the next school year, which will mean that the state of Idaho will pay the first $2 million, and then the remaining $5.52 million will be levied for the taxpayers, which will bring our tax rate down to about $56 per $100,000 of assessed value after your $125,000 homeowner exemption. We do have a levy page on the district website with a calculator where you can put your home's assessed value and see exactly what your dollar amount would be that would go to the school district. And then ultimately, Lynn and I want what's best for every single student who lives within the boundaries of Lakeland School District. And but we do want Lakeland to be a choice for everybody. And if you have any questions, ultimately when you go to vote, we just want to make sure you have accurate information and you're able to vote in a way that feels right for you and your family. But if you do have questions, we would love to, we would bring cookies and coffee to anybody's home who wants to sit down and just have a conversation with us and ask questions. We're not going to pressure anybody, but it is public school funding in Idaho is confusing. The accounting system we have to use is hard to understand, and so people don't always feel like they can look to see how schools are spending their money. We are 100% transparent with what we're spending and what we're spending it on, and we are happy to help people access that if they have any questions.
Well, the nice thing about it is I believe you. Not because I just believe you, because you've been somebody we could believe.
Well,
so thank you.
Integrity is very important to both of us. At the end of the day, and your character is what you have, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked a student the other day who had gotten himself in a little pickle, do you know what integrity means? Because he wasn't being honest with his grandparents who were raising him. And he said, yep, integrity means doing what's right even when nobody's looking. And I said, exactly. And so then he was able to say, okay, I did do it. And,
Yeah.
And so it's okay to say, we're not perfect. Yeah. None of us is perfect. We all make mistakes. But at the end of the day, your word matters. Yep. And your actions matter.
And you guys have lived that out, so I appreciate that. So anyway, I'm hoping that you, if you're a part of our church, and I'm hoping you appreciate that we work hard at partnerships to make our community better, inside and outside the walls of our church. If you're not a part of our church, I hope you appreciate that we live in an area that doesn't sequester off people of faith and morals, traditional morals, and say you can't have a part. They actually invite you in and there's a conversation. And that's rare. And we get to do it here. So.
And can I just add really fast? If you walk into any one of our schools or the district office, and you go to the office at the schools, one of the first things you're going to see is a sign that says, "In God We Trust." We have it posted. It's a beautiful metal sign that we have in all of our buildings that were actually gifted to us by the churches who participate in Jesus Loves Rathdrum. And so they're proudly hung.
And we appreciate that. All right, God bless you, and I hope you'll get out there and vote in May. And I'll be there. Hopefully you will be too. Take care.